Yeah, let's chat.
Okay, let's chat. So, welcome to episode 239 of the Planet Destiny podcast. I am one of your regular co-hosts, Danfinity. With me today, I have two members of the Planet Destiny stream team. I have BoSolaris representing our Friday night slot, and I got LightRazerDD here from our Saturday slot. So, hey guys, how are you? How are you doing today?
Good.
Good.
Doing well. Staying
Good.
warm up here in North Wisconsin because it's cold.
Wait, did it snow for you like yesterday?
It didn't necessarily. Well, okay, a little bit. I saw a snowflake and I got upset, and I think the heat from me getting upset melted everything right away. But there was a little bit of snow.
Yeah.
But the pup was not happy because we could not go to the dog park.
Yeah. Oh, can you not say it without the dog freaking out?
Key phrase. She goes crazy. I have to look around to make sure she's not there.
How old of a pup is she?
She's going on 13, actually.
Oh wow. Yeah, not that big, not that small of a pup.
Well, I mean, so she's a skipper key, so she's about like
okay.
this big total and like about maybe this tall.
Mm-hmm.
Cute as hell, but I mean, yeah, she's no girl.
I grew up with a mountain feist, which is like a squirrel hunting dog. They're pretty neat. She was like itty bitty. She was my buddy when I was living at my parents' house. So pretty great. So let's get into, when did you guys join the team? I know, Bo, you've been with us for quite some time, and you've been filling the Friday slot for a long time. And then LightRazor, you came in with the latest batch of new recruits to the Planet Destiny stream team. Why don't we start with Bo, telling us a little bit about what you do here on the channel, what people can expect when they see you, and what your specialty is.
So people can expect to see a lot of varying activities when I play, whether it be PvP or PvE. Try to get some help going for some of the tougher PvE activities. I think for a while we were doing raid helps. We try to get grandmaster helps together for those that are able to do it, and just trying to work on an overall positive environment for everybody.
How was did you do have you done the grandmaster this week? I know the first week you and I had tried. Yep. Yeah. How is it comparative to the past 2 weeks?
Well, this is the easiest week by far. By far, this is the easiest week. So the boss room's got a lot of places where you can move and hide, and it's obviously got a cheese to it too. So if you run into problems, you can always have a really easy way out.
Yeah. So, and LightRazor, what do you do on the channel? You normally stream on Saturdays during midday, right?
Yep. Noon to 3, or whenever I decide to stop, since no one's after me.
Right. Yeah. So what do you normally do on the channel, and what can people expect to see from you when you perform?
I try to do trials, but if I right now with population and everything, I'm not good enough to be doing doubles. So if I can't get someone in advance, then I'm just gonna do some other stuff going on in the game that I haven't done, whether it's grinding for the god roll weapon or just doing something. I might be just like chill and play PvP.
Cool. Excellent. So how do you guys feel about the current state of the game overall? Bo, let's start with you.
I'm kind of bored. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of bored. I think everybody thinks the same thing about bounties at the moment, and that's kind of what the game is boiled down to a little bit. Is I'm gonna get all these bounties done so I can get some other bounties done so I can get my weekly thing and then be out.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of bored with it, but I really still like helping people out and just doing just the normal regular things, grinding out materials. It feels like after the first couple of weeks of a season, you just start preparing for the next season with like getting materials or whatever weapons you want and things like that. And it's it's kind of where I'm at with it right now. How I feel about it.
Yeah. LightRazor, you?
Despite me being super hyped for trials when it came out, I played this season much less compared to like the last season, as surprising as it is, like mostly because no stonks this season yet.
Okay.
Oh, but just like, I mean, there's other stuff going on, right? We're all quarantined. Like,
Yeah.
despite being in our houses 24/7, we don't just play games all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just starting to wear down, along with like just how this season's played out.
Yeah. Do you guys think that that's part of why, like, maybe us being available most of the time has something to do with that? Are you guys essential workers right now, or are you guys currently just at home playing games?
I'm kind of in a unique spot with like my career, as I was able to work from home previously, so I'm still like working from home and doing all the kind of stuff. So I don't have the same free time that somebody that um, might have been laid off because they're not essential or anything like that. So my time for the game hasn't really changed very much at all.
Mm-hmm. LightRazer, what about you?
I'm still in college right now, and all my classes got moved to online. I used to work as a substitute during the week, and that's gone.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money that I've like not been able to get.
Mm-hmm. How have you been? So have you guys completed all your bunkers and everything? Are you just like done with everything for the season, pretty much, or what is there to entice you outside of helping others to play the game right now? Are you playing anything else?
So like on a scale of 1 to 10 on how difficult bunkers are to upgrade as compared to like the obelisks were to upgrade, the bunkers are like a 0.5.
Okay.
I know for me personally, like the bunkers were, as soon as the bunker was available, 2 minutes later, my bunker was fully updated. And I
Okay.
still had a large surplus of bits that just carried over to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I like it because you get bits, but there's currently nothing to like spend bits on. Like you
Yeah.
can go buy the bounties and things like that to chase the weapon rolls for some of the
Mhm.
Seraph weapons, which I like some of those quite a bit. They're
Yeah.
pretty fun. But yeah, those things were like they were instantly upgraded. I think for a lot of people because like everybody was thinking, oh, this is going to be another like obelisk type thing. So everybody that first week went to rush and grind everything out and get everything taken care of, and then still now here we're sitting at a surplus, and
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah. What about you, LightRazor?
Pretty much same situation.
Yeah.
Again, my game time is like cut down because of school.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, same thing. Like I've had my whenever an obelisk bunker got unlocked, I went in there, cleared it out, and then had it fully upgraded like in 2 minutes.
Yeah. See, I must not have played the game right, because mine weren't done, I think, until like the 4th or 5th week for the most part. And then, like, after hearing Obi Katie Cat talk about it last week, I was like, maybe do I just play Destiny wrong? Or do I spend everything way too soon? Right now, where I'm at with it, I enjoy helping people out with activities. I enjoy right now. I've done the past 2 weeks, Grandmaster Nightfalls, but I haven't attempted this one yet. I got all 11 triumphs done in Guardian games. Which how did you guys feel about that? Did you guys get anything?
I have not. I've barely been able to play it.
Yeah.
Have like maybe one triumph done.
My heart hurts because of the Rumble Triumph.
Okay. All right. How many have you finished it, and how long did it take you to get it done?
I was able to get 3 to 4 super kills per game because I made just the pure try hard 100 intellect loadout with a Stormcaller blinking around with the spiky hat and all that kind of stuff, and I don't play a lot of Rumble either, so I think Rumble's a skill based playlist. So I had kind of probably an easier time than most getting it done. So I think at most it was 7-8 games to get it all done. But what was the other triumph that was weird? there was another one that kind of stuck out in my head that felt two. So one where you got to grind a whole bunch of bounties out, and
Yeah,
like weeklies are like 4 points, and dailies are X
were
points,
two.
and
They were two,
yeah,
and then the bright dust ones were one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was kind of, and the other one where like everything was account based, right? Everything was account based for progress except for that one other triumph. And
Right.
I don't remember what it was called, but
That
I
would
didn't realize that until like 3 days in of all 3 characters of doing stuff. I'm like,
Yeah, the bounties were the one. Bounties weren't account based. I remember that because I went in on my
ugh.
warlock just to turn in one gold medal. I was like, I'll knock out some bounties maybe, and then looked at this bar and it was all the way at the bottom, and I was like, nah, never mind, I'm good. I'll be fine. I'll just do it on my hunter. And outside of that medal, I did offset for the rest and finished all 11 of those triumphs on my lowly hunter. Who got no love from Guardian Games except for the first day. How do you guys feel about the turnout for the event? What all do you think they could improve if they do it again? Which I don't know if they will.
Titans just won like every day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's because of Antaeus wards. For PvP anyway, like all the people playing trials with all the slidey boots, the bastions.
I feel like Titans have quite a few builds too that make doing a lot of the planetary or the destination or the forge or the forge ones. 5 forges for one. 5 forges.
Yeah.
Oh,
Grow up. 5 forges. Nothing, bud.
Oh. On 3 characters every time that it was around. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Bud.
it felt like Titans had a lot more like ability based builds where like you do this and you get this ability back for free, so you can just keep doing it, and you do that in like teams of 3 Titans, and you have like almost everything done right away.
Yeah.
I do agree that like Antaeus has a larger impact than just on like the PvP player base, because it does bring light to a subclass or to a class that people don't normally play all that much, and then they start discovering all these new builds and all these things that they can do. And I know every class has got like a trick of the trade that they can do things with, but I agree with Light about how Antaeus probably had Titans in the limelight because of what they could do, and then it just kind of filled in the cracks from there with all the other builds that Titans could have.
So, if they were to do this as a future event, there's people in chat who said just don't make it by class, and make it like you could do it by faction, or like I don't know how else you'd do it other than by faction. What do you guys think that would improve the event, or do you think it would make it so that it would the party lines would still be drawn? It would just be a different outcome.
As long as it's not like one specific weapon per faction, that if they win, like anyone who pledged there gets that weapon, because that's just people are gonna pledge for the weapon, not what faction they actually want to win. Like how they have it heir apparent, where like you just do all the triumphs, and then everyone gets that one gun. I think that just works. It just works better, and it's not gonna have people like going to one faction for like anything. Or, like if they're going to a faction, they're going to it for shaders.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did get the heir apparent, and I used it a couple of times. I can't find like a practical application out for it, except for like during like more Vorgoth in Shattered Throne. I tried it out just to see if you could tank the bolts, and you totally can. It's pretty awesome if you do it solo. You could probably do like a solid 3-phase on it. But as a reward, I don't like for 7 triumphs that are just kind of like, hey, go grind this for a little while. It's just okay. And the fact that it'll be added to like the loot pool later, not like it doesn't sound like it'll be Arbalest soon, but later on in development cycle, I don't know if it was necessarily worth it to do all of that at this point now. I'm looking back on my 11 triumphs and being like, maybe I could have spent that time differently.
And none of those triumphs were worth score either, right?
Yeah.
It was just kind of like bragging rights. But there's a couple emblems.
Yeah.
Was there
There
a
was a couple
shader for one
shaders.
of them,
There were
I
a couple
think?
shaders. One of the
Yeah.
shaders for the bounties I actually like quite a bit. I have it on my hunter right now, and it looks very, very nice with the Kairos bronze shader. But outside of that, it was just like, you did all this stuff. Congratulations.
Yeah, you participated in the event.
Yes. So, and last week we had conversations regarding like talking about bounties, like you had discussed earlier, Bo, as part of the TWAB. So they talk about shifting away from bounties being a critical path of seasonal pursuit, with event bounties not really changing at any point in the near future. How do you guys feel about that? What are you guys like? What do you see on the front or in the future for this type of event?
Before we talk about the bounties, can we back up 1 second
Sure.
about the Guardian games and how maybe they could do it differently in the future?
Yeah.
This had some very, very destructive things in the community that started happening. Like the whole class war thing got ignited, and there was so much stuff that came up. Like, hunters are the best, man. We're gonna win every time. And then Titans go up, and then hunters get upset again, and then warlocks are just like, well, whatever. We're not popular anyway, so it's not gonna happen. And like, I don't think a class war is a great way to do that. And I like the whole faction thing because it feels like factions, but it was reduced to classes instead.
Right.
I really think factions need we need something to do with factions because they're just there and you don't do much with it at all.
They're nowhere.
The next, they're nowhere. They're just sitting off on their respective sides, and I'm like, what, why?
Yeah.
But I would like to see it be kind of maybe activity based in the future, because if it's Guardian games and not, not. I don't know. I feel like when it's Guardian games, like you can have Gambit, you can have Forges, Raids, and PvP and Strikes all there, and have like each of those activities be like featured during 1 week of the games, and then see like just something like that. I felt like
okay. So you mean get points by doing the activity per that week?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say PvP players versus PvE players versus
God.
players.
Oh God,
no.
Then the hunters would have showed up. Hunters would have
been horrible. I didn't mean to detract or backtrack.
No, you're
though,
fine.
So,
like that's what we're here for, is to talk about this kind of stuff. So yeah, what do you see the role like? While I could see like having like faction wars over class wars would be the better exception, right? I feel it still fills the same space, whereas when people knew what the rewards were, what with the catalysts for certain exotics, maybe that people just farmed those factions without any skin in the game. Would you guys propose that maybe like you'd have to pick one and make it more permanent? I've seen that brought up a couple times, and we've discussed that here on the podcast in the past.
So like a meaningful choice.
Yeah.
So if you play all 3 characters, like you make one choice and it's pretty much account bound. So like you have to actually make a choice in the game instead of doing everything all the time. I kind of like that. But at the same time, if you pledge to one, there's two other things to pledge to, and they each have their own reward. Like, what happens to those other rewards? Like, do people just miss out on those completely? And are people okay with that? Are players okay with that? Or do they just get added to the loot pool later for them to earn in the world? Because we know like it's taken forever to get the faction gear to come back into the world and the faction weapons to come back into the world, and factions were like, how long ago? How long ago were factions?
Dude,
like when they actually had something
over a year and a half ago.
So like this is the first time a lot of people may be seeing Dire Promise or the simulator gear or the really cool new Monarchy gear. I mean, it's I would like to see a meaningful choice, but on the same side, I would like to see the other loot that gets missed out on be introduced into the world in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
Like not like Arbalest maybe, but put that loot behind a specific activity so you can go to this activity and be like, okay, look, you missed out on stuff. Well, here you go. Menagerie maybe. I don't know.
Please.
Yeah. And well, one of the things that we were told this week, so we had a TWAB come out on Thursday, and it to me, it compounded what was said in last week's TWAB with Luke Smith talking about rewards for aspirational and core content being taken out of or being added in, and things from Eververse being taken out. It was a pretty thick TWAB. It was like I personally thought it was better than last week's, but had this news been integrated in, it would have made last week's TWAB a little bit sweeter. You know what I mean? So especially with all the talk of bounties kind of going away, in the way that we know them in season 12, from being XP critical path stuff to now having gear added into aspirational activities. What do you guys think of the moves that Bungie has been making, at least in the past couple of weeks, with their communication?
I love what they said. I mean, when they said that they're moving, like, because when you went into Eververse and you saw these Trials Ghost projections and you saw the Trials ornaments, or the weapon ornaments, sorry, for Trials, you saw that stuff in there, and I immediately thought, like, oh, why are these in here? Why can't I get these from either the Flawless chest or just playing the game, or maybe finishing a quest line through Trials of Osiris or something like that? Because I feel like that's what bounties kind of replaced, was quest lines. And because Taken King had, how many quest lines did Taken King have? It had a lot of different things to do. And I feel like bounties are just kind of there to like fill that void, because there were stories that were told through quest lines, and they're easily linked to triumphs, because look, you do this quest and now there's a triumph that says, hey, I did this quest. And it's just more, it feels like a more streamlined bounty process, but you feel like you're being more part of the world because you're doing something with it. But as far as like them removing a lot of the stuff from Eververse and putting it in Pinnacle activities, or what was the word that they used? It wasn't Pinnacle activity.
Aspirational activities.
Aspirational.
Yeah.
That to me is amazing, because I died a little bit on the inside when Season of the Undying came when Season of the Undying came out and we got Garden of Salvation, and you saw the raid ship and the raid Sparrow were in Eververse.
Yeah.
When in the past, we all remember the good old days where they were just a rare drop from any part of the raid. And that was a reason to go back and do the raid time and time again, to either help people or, get better rolls on your stuff. But that the hope that you were going to get either a ghost or a sparrow or something like that. So like that was really, really, really music to my ears, because I always felt like those types of things, if it was linked to an activity, even if it was just cosmetic, I should be able to get it in the game. Like the toast emote from Spire of Stars.
Yeah.
Like, was that not a cool feeling when you got an emote from doing the raid and it was raid specific? Like,
I've only done that raid twice, so I don't know.
I only done it once.
It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
LightRazer, how do you feel about ornaments related to Trials of Osiris being taken, in the future, being taken out of Eververse and put into an event that you enjoy playing?
I'm 100% down for that. Like, especially like farming for like God roll armor, because it's like definitely want to get min max. Just like having it look cool, and just like I worked hard to get it with it's actually good stats. I'd feel so much better than like having to blow through like a bunch of Eververse money every season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
my bright dust has taken a significant hit since Shadowkeep has come down. Like I prided myself on like how much I played the game and did stuff because I had an upwards of I think it was 300,000 bright dust heading into Shadowkeep, and
Mm-hmm.
over the past couple of seasons, I think I'm down to around 80 because I have to have everything. I have
Right.
to. There's no question about it. If it's there, I gotta have it because I like my collection number to be large, and I like I like it being even. I don't like seeing 150 of 151 or something like that
Yeah.
in the spot. But yeah, I feel your pain about the dwindling resources.
Going back to like the bounties and how they have it with bright dust, like
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to farm bright dust on console, that's a rip. That's a like 10-minute tower trip to go get more bounties,
Right.
do one strike, and then you got to go back to the tower for like 10 minutes. Like the
Right.
way it's implemented right now, like you should be able to get, if they were going to keep bounties like that, you should be able to pull it from orbit. You shouldn't have to run back to the tower like every time because that just burns people out from wanting to do it.
Right. Well, it looks like so from what they were talking about with bounties is that sometime during year 4, they're talking about bringing all of the bounties to the director's screen, which I think will be useful, especially on console, with the load times being what they are when you're trying to load into the tower. But it feels to me their past communication this past week has been about like trying to say, hey, we are listening and we're actually pushing these things into the agenda. Like, so a couple weeks ago they talked about Trials of Osiris and talking about adding adept mods into the slot. And now this week we get conversation from Luke Smith saying, yeah, we're working on adept weapons just full out for Trials of Osiris. And every year they're going to be updated with new armor every year without any reprisal stuff.
That's really big without any reprisal.
Yeah.
Because I hate a really strong word. I severely dislike
Okay.
playing an Iron Banner in a new season, and it's not new. It's just an Armored 2.0 version of something that doesn't add to my collections. And if it's a cruddy roll, I'm not gonna keep it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already had it in the past. So like what does it really do for me? But since like each one of these aspirational activities is going to have like a completely new armor set, even if it's just for the year, like
Yeah.
that's huge. That's massive. That's something that has not been in the game up to this point in like the entire lifetime
In Destiny
of it.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, they're gonna bring back D1 gear. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Though okay, the Iron Banner D1 gear was
Yeah.
perfect. It was so good, so good. But that in itself is something that's really nice to see. But I think with the TWAB that was this week, there were
Mm-hmm.
actionable items that you saw.
Yeah.
Like they weren't saying that we're looking at this and we're thinking about this. So we saw a bulleted list of this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, and we saw
Mm-hmm.
things there that people for me personally, that's what I want to see. Like in the
Mm-hmm.
12s, I want to see like, well, what are you doing? I like this bullet point here of, oh, we're getting this. This is going to happen. This is going to change, and this here. Like that. That's massive to me because it's
Yeah.
not just talking. Although the communication is really good, it's
Mm-hmm.
something that I can now look forward to.
Yeah. It's more actionable. You can see it on the list and you can then follow up with like, okay, so these things have happened at your targeted rates. Where are we with this thing? More so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, especially with a lot of these items being targeted for around September or October, depending on how you count season 12. It looks like whatever the next expansion drop is going to be will be pretty massive and brings with it core changes outside of just reward structures. When we talk about, they talk about later on. They're gonna be adding new armor sets to core playlists such as Strike, Gambit, and Crucible that all have the same geometry, but each set will have like different decals and shaders specific to that activity. That's kind of cool. I was really excited about that. Overall, we did get kind of confirmation that we're not getting a raid until the start of next year. About right?
Wait, they said no raid for the fall expansion?
So in part of it, when they were talking about aspirational activities, they said Destiny's next raid will have brand new armor, weapons, and exotic accessories to pursue. Parentheses, no spoilers. To me, they've grouped that into a lot of conversation about year 4 and things coming back around that way. I don't know if I'd expect to see a raid next season.
Oh no, not next
Yeah.
season. Fall is guaranteed, but like I wouldn't expect with how stretched thin they are right now. If they've been working on a raid like for the last season of the year, and then they have to have another raid for the first season of next year, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like they're as stretched thin as Bungie is right now. Like there's no way they could develop 2 raids simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. There was a part of this that also spoke to me, like they're removing the legendary armor ornaments from Eververse in order to use that time for other development, I believe. If I can find that. It's yeah. So under core playlist reward changes, we will no longer be selling new legendary weapon ornaments and Eververse. Do you feel like that is aimed at maybe creating more of a loot pool for activities?
Yeah.
Instead of like trying to push just vanity and ornamental stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it does. I feel like it does 2 things. It allows them to free up space or development time for like these new weapons and new activities, because we're getting new armor sets every year now that aren't reprisals of D2 gear. So that you take time away from one thing, you got to put it into somewhere else. Or if you're putting time in somewhere else, you need to take it away from something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably where the connection that I see there in this whole TWAB about losing the legendary armor ornaments or legendary ornaments in Eververse and pushing out new weapons and new gear. I also see like an underlying kind of motive there that legendary ornaments felt kind of like a cash grab in Eververse for the most part, because some of the weapons weren't terribly used and they weren't really all that popular, but they were still there. Like I think a lot of the Gambit weapons had 2 or 3 ornaments a piece for them. And I feel like it's a hey, we know that you guys don't like all this stuff being in Eververse, so we're gonna take things out, and we're gonna only have like really meaningful stuff, that's meaningful cosmetic things, in there, so that now you can go out and earn this new stuff while doing the activity that you want to do.
Well, also this kind of speaks to, so they're taking out legendary weapon ornaments, they're taking out armor ornaments, they're taking out sparrows, ghosts, and ships that accompany that are themed after aspirational activities. Couple questions. Do you guys see them putting out stuff in the do you see them putting out stuff in Eververse that's a little bit more wacky or a little more off the wall, stripped out from lore tabs? Like in the Eververse, I don't plan on seeing lore tabs anymore because of this kind of conversation.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
But I also see they talk about adding Transmog in sometime during year 4, which is awesome. People have been asking for that forever in Destiny, and now we're going to be kind of getting that, where you'll either earn it through in-game effort or through actual silver. Do you guys see Eververse turning more wacky and more vanity that way than what it is right now?
I see them making more like emotes and like finishers than anything. Like instead of like spending time like designing like the ships and sparrows, or the whole bunch of them that are added into Eververse, they're gonna spend more time on like interactable stuff like that you can show off to like anyone. Like I don't want to see like closer to like other like ERs and how their setup is.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's just gonna probably just like make you feel like you're doing X activity to get all the stuff related to it.
Right. So, do you guys play games where they've had transmog in the past? Are you familiar with ways that other
Yeah.
companies have done it? Okay. Like what's the game that you're thinking of, and how did they implement it?
So I played Fantasy Star Online 2
Okay.
and Fantasy Star Online. I don't know if Fantasy Star Online actually had transmog in it. That was a long time ago. But PSO2 just actually had a North American release, and they have transmog in there, and it's basically it's considered like a weapon skin, but you can your weapon changes completely, or you can make this just for instance, you can make this Ace of Spades look exactly like a trust if you wanted to, but you can also revert the change and do whatever you want to it. Same with armors and things like that. Now, the transmog happens. You did have to purchase it with real money, like you had to buy some tickets in PSO2, and then you could do that kind of stuff with it. And when you ran out of tickets, you had to go buy more tickets in order to like get a pass, so you could do it over and over again.
From what I
Diablo,
from what I hear of Fantasy Star Online, it's just like menu simulator for the most part.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man, that's a lot of reading, and there's a lot of menus in there. You're right.
Yeah.
You can get lost quick.
Yeah. So you go get a thing, you get another thing, and then you do the thing. At the end of it, like, how much is it in Fantasy Star, let's say, if that's something that they're looking at?
To get a transmog ticket?
Yeah.
I think it's $3 or $4 per piece.
Okay.
I know that like in Diablo 3's instance, like you just did everything through the game. Like you didn't have, there was like this cube where you sacrificed a piece of gear, and then when you sacrificed that piece of gear, it was now available as a transmog to other types of gear like that. I think I may be a little rusty on my D3, but
yeah.
And that was not that wasn't anything you had to pay for. You just grinded that out in the game itself. So
yeah. I see. This is the first game that's like even remotely close to like an MMO that I've ever played, and so I personally do not have any knowledge or love for like a transmog system. So like when everybody was talking about, oh yeah, we should bring transmog in, it's like, for me, I have no point of reference, and so I wonder if they would be bringing. I don't know if they'd allow you to change the look of exotics overall, because I think that you'd want to know what that is, or what you're going up against, at least, especially in a competitive environment like trials or comp.
Yeah, if you could transmog Antaeus to look like Dune Marchers, that'd screw so many people over.
Yeah, it would. Yeah,
that would mess you up so badly.
Yeah.
It's not even funny.
But is this kind of thing, do you think that it is a better path for Destiny to go down in the long run, and for Bungie to get money that way over what they're currently doing?
Well, it's not necessarily going to cost you money, right? They said you could do it through silver or
in-game effort. Now,
so
yeah,
the fact that they're giving us the choice is like that makes all the difference over like Bright Dust. How you have to farm up X. Like if you run out of the weekly stuff, you're farming bounties for like hours to maybe get one item. It's like that's a false choice. No one's gonna be like, how many people are actually gonna spend like 8 hours farming bounties to go get an exotic emote?
Yeah, you're right. I don't. I basically do most of my farming passively. I just grab bounties and then go. And if something that I do fills out a bounty, oh look, cool, I knocked it out. But overall, I don't actively hunt out and search for ways of earning in-game currency or in-game experience in the long run, except for Guardian games. I kind of did that a little bit this past week, but so it goes.
So about the why Transmog is kind of like a thing and why
Mm-hmm.
people want it. I really, really love it when I just get all warm and fuzzy inside when I get a 60 plus stat roll
Okay.
on a piece of gear, and then it turns out to be like uh, a Forsaken level helmet from Tangled Shore
Yeah.
for the Warlocks with like the man bun in the back, and it's
Yeah.
just absolutely ugly. Or the toilet seat helmet for Warlocks that
Yeah.
was a PS PlayStation exclusive at one point, and
I
then
think so.
um, yeah, and I'm never gonna wear it. It's got a great roll on it. It's all
Yeah.
the stats that I want. There's no way in hell I'm gonna wear it because it looks ugly.
Right.
Whereas if you have Transmog, right? If however it works, so you have this many, you have like X number of pieces of gear that are available to Transmog onto an item. Well, I have this ugly piece of gear that's a really awesome stat roll. Now I can make it look like the Trials Warlock helmet, which is the best helmet that was ever created in any Destiny game ever.
Okay.
So, and I don't have to worry about it anymore because no one's gonna see that I have a 3-wire man bun. They're gonna see that I have pupper ears with a glowy visor, and I love that.
When in reality, I still have the man bun. So, okay. So I can see that being a benefit overall. When they also discussed part of what they're talking about when they talked about core playlist rewards as well. They said we will create new sets like this each year for like year 4, year 5, year 6. And our friend, let's see here. Our friend in chat, Captain D's, asked, how long do you think the Destiny franchise will keep going? Do you think Destiny 2 will go into year 6 based on this example that they've talked about? That's been a point of conversation in the Destiny community over the past week. Or do you think that was just like an example of, yeah, we're planning on doing this same thing from season 12 onward?
franchise wise, I do believe that it's gonna keep going those years. But
Yeah.
Destiny 2, I feel like this last expansion, the expansion that's coming this fall, is gonna be the last one for Destiny 2 because there's already issues with space on consoles. There's limited space for things that are in the game, and you can't keep adding things in, this year, next year, and the next year, and the next year without losing items to make room, for the new stuff. So I think the franchise is going to continue on, but we're going to get a new iteration of the game because D2 is at capacity almost.
Yeah. LightRazer, what about you?
So I heard like a couple months ago that like with the new consoles coming out, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, the companies are supposed to still develop the games for both the current gen and the next gen.
Oh, yeah. Xbox has made
And
that promise.
yeah, so that's a big problem with trying to like make a completely new Destiny game without any of the problems that we're seeing right now with like the split generations. Like that was the whole issue with Destiny 1 split between Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Like if they want to like to have it like completely fresh, they have to go like another year or two like after this year anyway to be able to get like a pure next gen game.
Yeah.
But like Bo says, like Destiny right now, it's at capacity. They've said like they can't keep adding stuff. So like yeah, like the smarter thing for them to do is to like keep adding on, but how the game probably won't more issues like we were seeing last season with loading into the tower literally taking 10 minutes
Yeah.
on a black screen. That's probably going to keep popping up the longer this game keeps going.
Yeah. They talked about seasonal in last week's TWAB, not this past week's TWAB, but the TWAB from the 30th. They talked about having seasonal items maintain over a year. So you'd still be able to go into those activities and you'd be able to catch up on the story if you hadn't played it previous for that year duration. to me, that doesn't so much contradict what Luke Smith had said when he's like, yeah, like we're running to capacity levels. It doesn't so much contradict that as it does like say maybe they're like hitting critical mass on that, and they're just like, okay, so once season 12 comes around, all of the previous stuff, such as like Season of Undying's structure of getting stuff, Season of the Worthy, Season of Dawn, all that stuff would go out the window, and we'd start fresh in September and go from there, adding things in. It seems more like more aspirational for them to create a consistent roadmap of this is what you're going to get during this year, regardless of if you pay for the season pass on day 1 or day 108, right? And so that makes the most sense to me. You bring up a good topic when you talk about Xbox promising to cross develop between not only Xbox One and Xbox Series X, because they have talked about upscaling that, and we're seeing a lot of that in their talks when they're doing their presentations of late. Even like pointing out that Destiny 2 will be on Xbox Series X. With Bungie then quickly retorting like, yeah, but we're gonna be on both of them, on all of the next gen consoles, so just be advised. I would hope that we'd see a new sequel iteration at least a year after this next console stretch, because once again, when I think we saw this with PS4 and PS3 in that split, there was like a year where there wasn't really anything worth really diving back into, like in order to get those games. And then once that year was done, that's when the good stuff came out for the most part, right? So I think,
wasn't there a 1.2 when Rise of Iron came out? Bungie they said something along the lines of, okay, the dev paths are now forking.
Yeah.
We have this path here is now, this is for the PS3 version of the game, and now we have this one here, which is for the PS4 version of the game, and things are going to be different between the two. We're still supporting the game on both consoles, but there's going to be like slight variations. And I'm wondering if that's going to be like another step that Bungie's going to be taking, or if that's something that's in their mind, because I don't exactly know what the differences were between PS3 and PS4 back in those days for Rise of Iron. But I do remember them mentioning something about that.
I think their core architecture was a little different. Like with each generation, you kind of have that change. But BG Rising then in chat says, so then why even have a console? I mean, between the cost of an SSD and a console, a person could buy a decent gaming PC. Is that what developers, console manufacturers really want? For me, console generations have always been like kind of like a guarantee period where you're going to have this quality for this amount of time. It's not so much about with PCs. You could have a top of the line PC like now, and then 3 years down the line, parts need to be replaced in order to keep re-upping it. And there's kind of like a standardization that happens with consoles, and they sell them at a loss, which is kind of nice in most regards. So I see that more as like a guarantee of quality for this stretch of time instead of just going out and buying pieces for your PC all the time. Does that make sense?
Also, it's lower risk. It's
Yeah.
much lower risk for like, because like if someone doesn't know what they're doing with a PC, they're gonna brick like $1,000+ and if they don't get insurance, oh boy,
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Boy.
And not only that, but they also have started offering services that make having a console like be a pretty good deal. Like Xbox Game Pass is a pretty fair deal overall if you go for that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited to see what they do with Destiny coming up. It seems like this latest TWAB is much more hopeful. I don't know why I read it as more hopeful than the last week's TWAB. Maybe it was because I had hoped that the incentive portion that was kind of seen here a little bit, like by them taking some of those armor and weapon pieces and put them in aspirational goals, that was removed from the seasonal reward conversation. And I kind of wish that those had been one big thing. That way, maybe the community would have been more even keeled on everything. But I don't know. Would you guys like to go into questions?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm done.
Sweet. So
Let's talk.
before we get into them, so how did you guys get into gaming? What's the origin of your gaming career? Let's start with LightRazer on this one.
Wait, like
Origin.
original, like
Let's go deep.
Oh my god.
Let's get deep.
Okay, so I was about 4, and my older brother, he's 14 years older than me. The room I'm in right now is actually his old room. I remember walking in here and watching him play Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then like PlayStation after that, broke the disc I got for Christmas immediately on that first game and felt terrible. Then handhelds for a long time. Then shooters in like when Modern Warfare came out, played more JRPGs after that. And then like after college, I went back to playing shooters, and then taking spring, I came into Destiny.
Excellent. Very cool. So what were some of your shooters that were go-tos at the time?
So I played a lot of Modern Warfare 3, some Modern Warfare 2, but that was just digging around with my friends, and then I played a lot of Black Ops 3, when that came out.
Cool. Bo, what about you?
So I'm pretty sure I was birthed with like a little gaming like LCD thing in my hand.
Okay.
I think when there's pictures of me when I was like 1 or 2 years old and I was playing with one of those. I think it was Top Gun or something like that. It was the really weird LCD screen where you can move left or right, or you stay in the middle of the screen to avoid like the incoming missiles, and they were like huge, and it was made by Tiger.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
Tiger
on
games.
yeah, and then I think it was on my full second birthday or just after the Nintendo Entertainment System was released in the US, and my parents had got that with a game called Dragon Warrior, which was it was like an RPG type game.
Yeah.
And then I just I beat that before my parents did, and then I moved on to platforming games like Mega Man and Metroid, and yeah, I was a Nintendo kid growing up. I wasn't a Sega person. I was all Nintendo. So I fell in love with like all of their first party Metroids and Mega Man. Well, Mega Man wasn't first party, but Metroids and Zelda and Mario and all that fun stuff. And I just kept playing those games all the way up. I was an only child. I lived out in a place where you didn't make friends easily and stuff. So gaming was pretty much all that, some people had and still have. So going all the way up until I jumped consoles to Sony when the PlayStation 2 or 3 came out.
Yeah.
And I started playing
Sweet Tony Hawk.
No. Although I was envious of those games because back in the day, like they had actual like music soundtracks from like musical artists and things in the games, and that back then that was like the coolest thing. Like, oh, I hear this song on the radio, but now I can hear it while I'm playing and playing the game.
Rage Against the Machine on my video game
or Sublime? What?
Yeah,
is
dude.
This? I evolved into like I moved to like Smash Brothers, and then I moved to more hard single player games like Demon Souls and the Soulsborne games. And I'd never really played a first person shooter at all until Destiny. GoldenEye was kind of there, but like I didn't know what the heck I was doing in GoldenEye or Perfect Dark. But a friend of mine said, hey, there's this game coming out that's like a mix between Halo, which I heard you wanted to try way back when, and Phantasy Star Online. it's a loot grinder, but you get to shoot stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, all right. I'm not really big into FPSs, but what's it called? Destiny.
Yeah.
And wow, here we are now.
Now you're here. Welcome, guys.
Yeah.
So the first question from the audience, Aura, he asks, if you could make any weapon disappear from the Destiny universe, what would it be?
It has to be one weapon.
One weapon.
Oh.
Choose your poison.
Oh man. Aura is asking about a weapon to remove, and I know Aura uses air intel a lot, so I can't say air intel.
I mean,
right?
you could. You'd just be very upset with you.
No, I don't have a problem with air intel. That's actually a really tough question. Like, there's very few weapons that like haven't been adjusted to a tolerable level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so when Prometheus Lens came out and it was really OP, like, oh, get this gun out of the game. No, nerf this gun. Or same with Lord of Wolves. But I don't know if there's any weapon that I'm like, no, it shouldn't exist. Be gone with it, please. I mean,
I think Stealth Vixen and Penn's Halo are right in saying Jotun, though.
Oh, Jotun's so frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bastion.
You can beat it. Bastion?
I hate Bastion with a passion. You shouldn't be able to be rewarded for shooting a wall pre-charging.
Yeah.
And then you kill a super immediately after you move your reticle.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, 21 fusion bolts for one gun bullet seems pretty good.
Sounds
good.
legit to me. I don't know what you guys are complaining about. But Coffee9 asks, this may have come up earlier, but is it at all viable to make bright dust purchasable with silver while remaining an earnable in-game currency? So breaking silver up into bright dust.
Okay, well, first they have to have like an actual non-ludicrous translation between silver and bright dust.
I think it's like 1,500 silver equals 6,000 bright dust. Is that right?
Well, so there's
variations on like whatever you're buying. Like the exotic are like 3,000, and then some of the ships are like 2,000.
We would need a bright dust standard, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, wait. So make bright dust purchase. They're asking you to purchase bright dust.
So you could purchase you could break down silver, get bright dust, and then turn that in for items and make a consistent monetary value for bright dust.
Okay, just making consistent. I get that.
Yeah.
I think that was probably some of the easier stuff to do than like a fully changing the economy for bright dust. But like that kind of like throws me off, like using silver to directly go into the free currency. Like
so they also talk about last week they talked about getting rid of some of the bounties, the weekly bounties that reward bright dust, to more accurately and evenly give bright dust to players who maybe only have one character, right? So they're already going to be messing around with that bright dust economy. Would it make sense for them during this transitional time to then say, hey, okay, so 1,500 silver equals 6,000 bright dust, and if you earn this bright dust, you could purchase this item for either of the two? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like as long as there is a consistent conversion, like just because like for me that's it, like that's just saying like purchase silver with bright dust or something, or that, like it would just be the same thing. Like there's usually a reason why the free currency and the premium currency are two different things, or they're the same thing in like mobile games. Like a lot of mobile games, you have one currency, you can either buy it or like get
grind
it
out.
Yeah.
That's I would like to see like a bright dust and a silver on everything in the store. I think that would probably be useful.
Oh yeah,
like, very nice.
Yeah, choose bright dust or silver, but that changes like the weekly thing.
Yeah,
they'd have to go like do away with that.
And I'm only using those numbers, the 1500 versus the 6000, because that's what's from the event armor right now. Like you either spend like, I think 15 is $15, 1500 is $15 for the full event gear
for one character.
Yeah, for one character. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. So, right. Both so-called price tags on each item. Yeah, I think that would be neat. Radaka asks, for the upcoming expansion other than a raid, what kind of PvE activity would you include that will really draw people in?
I like I might get heat for this. I really like escalation protocol.
Okay.
I really, really like escalation protocol.
I don't think you're gonna get heat for that statement.
And well, escalation protocol was really, really great until we got EP 2.0, EP 3.0 in the forms of like Blind Well and then Altars of Sorrow and this or that. I think a PvE activity like escalation protocol, but you can match 12 people into the activity.
Oh yeah.
And do it. And it's in a great area. Because like Sundial kind of does that, but it's only 6. I want to see like a PvE activity where it can be all randoms or a pre-made team, but it's 12 guardians going in and going ham on something, and it's something that's massive. Or a PvE activity that's like a community event where there's something that's going to happen on Nessus, right? The Leviathan's going to crash into Nessus, so we have to do something in order to prevent that. Where it's as a community in a 12-man activity. I like 12-man activities. I like seeing lots of guardians everywhere shooting the same thing. Like, because when you load into a strike and you see another fire team doing the same strike in the public area that you're in, you're like, oh, this is so cool. These guys are doing the same things that we're doing. And just imagine having a world event that everybody can make progress on, not through bounties, not through collecting millions and millions of data lettuce or whatever it is, but there's a world boss that shows up.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of health, maybe a mechanic or two. Not nothing too terrible, because you're gonna have 12 people that are there. Yeah. But then, it takes some time to actually like take care of this guy. And if you have all 12 people, it's amazing. And I want to see something like that, something like EP, but on a grander scale, with something that's unique to it, with like its own armor sets and its own weapons and things like that.
Yeah, I can see that working. I did the Seraph Tower today, where you had to get the flawless Seraph Tower of the new version of it. It wasn't that bad once we convinced a stranger from Portugal that we needed to use them as a conduit of sorts.
Yeah.
Once it was just like, I promise, if you give me control of your fire team, I will not kick you, and we will get this done. Is that cool? It felt like
one of the
escalation protocol.
That's one of the awkward things about those events, like Altar of Sorrow, like melting Brutal Haste. There's a triumph called Brutal Haste where you got to melt that boss before he goes into his first immunity phase.
Yeah.
It was difficult before. It's even more difficult now because of the nerfs and how things have been reverted, and you don't have the same things as back then. But doing it, you need to have like a full instance of people that are there coordinated to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, like you said, you had to message a random guy, convince him that you were not a bad guy, and that he should trust you. And then, whereas, if there's an activity that's like this that matches 12 people together, or 12 people join up in orbit, or probably just match makes 12 people together, because LFGing for 12 people would just be a nightmare. So wait in orbit for 2 hours. No, just an exaggeration. Wait in orbit for like 10 minutes to get 12 people to go in and do this really, really massive activity.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to Phantasy Star Online 2. They have world bosses. The end boss of the game shows up and tries to hurt you every once in a while. And it shows up as like an urgent quest that you queue for.
Mm-hmm.
And you load in and you join anywhere from like 10 to 15 other people. And you all just hack and slash on the guy until he's dead.
Yeah.
And I feel like something like that would be really great, as long as the barrier to entry, wasn't bad. And the barrier to entry now in like Altars of Sorrow or 9-man EP or really fun blind wells with 9 people is like you you have to message the person, hope their settings are good, to receive messages, convince them you're not a bad guy, get them to let you join their party, and have them give you control, and like because you know what you're doing and stuff. And it's just so much of a hassle that it's not worth it. Whereas if they made it, an activity like that was easier to do, like not easier to do, sorry, easier to matchmake with.
Yeah. What do you think, LightRazer? What kind of event would you want to see?
Yeah, like just roaming really tanky world boss that helps. It forces the spawn for people, like it forces people to spawn into the area that has it, like where it's heavily weighted. But from what I remember, that's the reason we can't do like 9 or 12 people loading into an instance is again like a foundational thing with how Destiny 2 is built. And like no amount of upscaling, like there's a reason we can't do that on PC, even though that's much better than a console. Like it's the fact that they were developed for consoles that it's limiting 9 people in a public area. Can't go any higher than that.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's just going to be hard for something like that to actually happen. I really want like a good world boss thing that's just like chunky, but how people act, like, when people load in, are they actually going to do it, or they're going to just
are they going to do the Seraph Tower
most with some other thing?
We basically had to be like, wait, don't leave, guys, stay.
It's like when when people load into a strike and go do a lost sector for the entire time of the strike instead of the strike. Yeah.
So, moving on to the last question of the evening. M. Mills asks, quick question for later while I'm on my break. Since Bungie is still finding itself, what with the TWABs coming out this past couple weeks, how long do you think their backpack across Europe is going to take metaphorically? How long do you think it's going to be until maybe Bungie has stapled down some of these things as instead of a aspirational truth, more of an, all right, we need to get down to brass tacks and implement these things?
I really don't want to say like my thoughts on that, because look at Trials.
Okay.
Look at Trials. We waited. PvP players like me waited a year and a half for Trials to come back and like just be better than how it was in Trials of the 9. Look at the numbers right now; they're around the same as Trials of the 9. They're not that much better, and like people complained about like cheating or DDoSing. Like almost never you were like dealing with people cheating like they are now. Almost like it was like once in a blue moon when BattleNet Trials was going on.
Well, and they use different architecture too from Steam's for their security. So
like losing a flawless run to error codes, getting like DDoSed, getting like any random, getting Borderlands in Destiny under flawless game. Okay. Like that kills people. Aren't gonna want to play like Trials like that. Like I get that Bungie needs like they have anti-cheat.
Yeah.
But like it just hasn't been it for at least they have to like do some separate stuff for PC to like make Trials work. And that's where like a lot of the big streamers are, where people are going to be watching on Twitch, where people like a lot of YouTube videos are going to be about, or gonna have videos on. That needs to be like it just, this whole Trials thing just killed a lot of people's like belief in Bungie. It really shook a lot of PvP players. Like, we're happy we have it, but it's like you said you were going to perfect it, and it's like comes out half baked again.
Do you think the addition of adept weapons and armors that rotate yearly and changes to the trial system that we know are coming in place, do you think that those will help to stifle some of this?
100% that's gonna help, but like if the population is still like how it is right now, it's not gonna matter. Like we're like all those things are definitely gonna help it, but it's not gonna keep the population like it won't keep the population stable over a season. Like
It's a band-aid. It's not a solution.
yeah, like just Destiny 2 year one just like pretty much just like shot any PvP stuff in the foot.
Like I think Bungie needs to, and this will be unpopular. Bungie needs to take a few seasons and they need to stabilize their game. They need to work on fixing all the stuff that's wrong. They need to work on making the game itself more stable, and they need to work on making the community feel the changes that they're making, and then start developing some new content with their game being stable. Because if they keep trying to fix something while introducing something new, that adds a whole new path of other things to break. And then they're backlogged, because every time we have a release, there something breaks. It's just a fact of life. When every time something releases, something else breaks. And every time they fix something, it either doesn't get fixed all the way, or it's not like an appropriate type fix. I guess that's more, subjective. But as long as they're split, it's like the Eververse thing. As long as they're split on creating new content and fixing and stabilizing their game, like they're not going to be able to like really focus on one or the other. And I really feel like they need to take like a season, maybe 2 seasons, and I know that's like 6 months, but to just stabilize their game and fix it. Because how long has Polaris Lance been bugged? The perfect fifth shot.
It's been bugged, I think, for like 6 months, 7 months, something like that. But they have talked about there will be a fix coming to that weapon specifically in the next season. DMG has talked about that.
So that would be a total of 8-9 months later.
Yeah,
after the issue was first there. And I know everybody is they're working from home, and it's really tough to do all this kind of stuff, but there's like a history that keeps repeating itself there. And I feel the more new stuff they create, the more bugs that are going to happen, and they're just going to keep increasing their backlog, where they're just going to say, all right, well, this is just never going to get fixed, but we need to keep pumping out new stuff.
Yeah.
And I personally feel like it's going to suck, because there's not going to be any content that's out there at all for a good part of like 6 months while they stabilize this. And maybe it's just something to, forego until the next iteration of Destiny. But like, I feel like it would take them the better part of 6 months, 2 seasons of working on nothing but stabilization for them to bring the game and to fix the game.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I can't remember where I saw this, but I wanted to say that one of the devs had talked about like they know that there are error codes, and that is like close to the top of the pile of things that they need to fix, that they know they need to fix in order for the game to be better and for people to trust it more when they win something. So I think right now, when they're talking about their aspirational changes, I'm in a wait and see kind of mode. I want to see what happens with the next. We're going to be getting 5 more TWABs, I think, where they're going to be talking about like through the end of the season, like through June 9th, about what changes they're going to be bringing to Destiny, not only for next season, but for the season after that. I would like to see them talk about stabilization as a thing that they're striving for sometime in the next 5 weeks. I would also like to see, I don't know, like we don't really need to know. Last week I had talked about like getting conversation about what we as veterans should be doing. But I don't know if maybe that's not a conversation like that we should be having at this point. I would hope that they would have it together before the next iteration of whatever Destiny is going to be. If that's season 12 and Luke Smith sticking to his like burning shrine-ish or Burning Siege type promise basically to Gathalion with he's like, you are not prepared, or if it's, you know, a year after that the next gen consoles are out. I would hope to see something before the next gen comes out. I would like to see Destiny more standardized, I guess is what I'm saying. Destiny 2 has felt like a lot of tweaks to the formula that have improved it quite a bit, and then some that have just kind of like detracted from reward and that feeling, that feeling overall. So, I don't know.
I feel like the Eververse changes might benefit the veteran player more.
Yeah.
Because as a veteran now, like when a new season comes out, there isn't much to do besides like a few triumphs and get a few weapons. And then like a lot of the new stuff has been in Eververse. But now all those armor pieces, all those armor sets and ornaments and weapon ornaments are now going to be in the aspirational activities where we can actually go and grind that stuff out as like a veteran player along with the new seasonal players. But as a veteran player, we can get all the good new stuff by playing the game the way we know how and not having to just purchase it directly.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I would hope to see before the next iteration. Not so much like give them a time span of 6 months. Cuz I'm not a developer. I don't know what it takes to do their work in 6 months, but I know how much it takes me to do 6 months of anything in the hobby that I enjoy doing. And it's just like, oh man, that time really flew by, didn't it? I got all these lists on walls and things just not getting done. So I don't know. We'll just have to see. Other than that, that was our final question of the night. So I think we can get into you guys, where can people find you on the internet? And yeah, that kind of stuff. Introduce your socials. LightRazer, where can we find you?
So I'm listed as either just LightRazer or LightRazerDD on like pretty much anything, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, like you name it. Like it's either one of those two.
All right, cool. What about you, Bo?
I'm a base level Pokemon, so I am only on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. So I haven't branched out to, and even my YouTube's only clips. It's not things. But you can find me everywhere at BoSolaris, BoSolaris, everywhere, literally everywhere.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
Once again, guys, you can find Bo on Friday evenings here on the channel, Planet_Destiny. You can find LightRazer in the afternoon on Saturdays at the same place. My name's Danfinity. You can find me 3 days a week on my own channel, twitch.tv/Danfinity. You can find me also Twitter and Instagram at Danfinity, where the eyes are L's. This week I did an episode of the podcast Side Quests with my buddies Jaden and Bibble, and we just played AI Dungeon for about like 20 minutes. So it was a pretty good time. Outside of that, thank you for listening to episode 239 of the Planet Destiny podcast, and I hope you find what you're grinding for.